What is a shmup? A shoot 'em up, a shmup, is a video game which provides new material for a sci-fi themed puzzle-solving hobby that originated in Japan in the 1980s. A shmup might not look like a Sudoku, but you need a method to attack it and complete it just the same. Your goal as the player is to figure out the control inputs, move and shoot, for your on-screen avatar that will allow you to reach the end of the game on a single credit. This is known as a 1 credit clear, or a 1cc. The developer of the shmup aims to encrypt the solution by programming enemy placement and firing logic in a way that will challenge the player. The programming must adhere to 2 basic principles. Number 1, there must always be a possible solution, so no 100% guaranteed game over. Number 2, the solution should be sufficiently encrypted to prevent a reasonable player from solving the puzzle on the first attempt, i.e. reaching the end by reaction alone. It follows from these principles that the player needs to decrypt the logic behind the enemy placement and firing patterns in order to succeed. As this cannot be done during the player's first run, the implication is that players need to step away from the game and analyse what to do to get further on the next run. But where do you even start with that task? Ever since the 1980s, there's been no formal instruction from Japan on how to pick up the hobby. That is, until developer Akiragoya released At Dusk in 2024. Both the full game and the free demo of At Dusk contain a full tutorial where Akiragoya sensei lays out some of the basic parameters of how to approach clearing a shmup. In this video, I will walk through the whole 1-hour tutorial. I will read the in-game text, which is quite humorous, and add some thoughts from a player perspective. The chapters will be timestamped in the description, so you can break it into chunks. This is a solid foundation for any shmup player. It forms part 1 of 3 videos that I will be releasing to help more players succeed in this rewarding puzzle-solving hobby. Let's jump in. Move up, down, left, right on the gamepad or the keyboard. Yep, there we go. Change the keys, not now. Press A to attack. Boom. There it is. Now, let's fight the enemy. So you can see the points counter down in the bottom right. So we're just going to deal with this popcorn and these medium-sized tanks that are coming on screen. And if we speed through, we get these cool metal fantastic messages that pop up, which sadly aren't actually in the game itself, At Dusk. And we're trying to rack up 30,000 points, which hopefully will only take a couple of goes. Metal fantastic. Oh, that was amazing. I must say, if you can make it this far at this stage, you already understand the essence of a shooter. Well, that's encouraging. Next, we'll teach you some fundamental, ultimate, super advanced Shmups techniques. So let's just read that again. We're going to teach you some fundamental, ultimate, super advanced shmup techniques. You won't get it right at first, but if you remain aware of their significance, you will improve. Touch the green objects. And the thing to notice here is that to get these green objects, I'm not just having to dodge left and right. There's up, downs, and diagonals, and what this is emphasizing is that our movement in the Shmups game needs to be directional. It's not just a case of dodging left and right. Well done. You're an entry-level student, yet you've mastered so many control techniques. This is it. This is what control is all about. Let's become able to move quickly and accurately without needing to pay attention to your aircraft all the time. So, of all the lessons that Akiragoya wants to teach in this tutorial, control and moving the spaceship without having to watch it all the time is the first and the biggest that he wants you to pick up, so bear that in mind. Now let's practice movement in real time. Right, touch the green luminous object. Down, diagonal, diagonal, side, diagonal up, down, diagonal, slightly diagonal, and the targets are getting smaller, the ship's getting faster. Metal fantastic. Amazing operation accuracy. From the perspective of Shmup's kinesiology, I had to look this up, it means the science of movement. You are already a hardcore game warrior. Maybe there's nothing I can teach you. I somehow doubt that. In the chapter of techniques part of the logic of Shmups that I advocate, there are 3 great Shmup's ultimate techniques. Okay, so let's read that again. In the chapter of techniques part of the logic of Shmups that I advocate, so he's teaching us here the logic of Shmups, something that he thinks is fundamental to understanding the hobby. And he says there are 3 great Shmup ultimate techniques. One of them is this: control. In Shmups, if the attack power of 2 ships is the same, the one that moves faster is the stronger of the 2. Now that is pretty amazing. That's not something you're going to hear very often anywhere on the kind of Western Shmup scene. But this is something that I think developers must bear in mind in Japan, where any 2 enemies that have equal firepower, the one that moves faster is the stronger of the 2. However, if its moving speed is faster, it will also be more difficult to control. And indeed, this ship has gone super fast since that last green dot tutorial. A slow aircraft is easy to handle because it can be operated precisely. However, as the difficulty level increases, the speed is insufficient and it becomes a disadvantage. You should learn the knack of operation for a slow aircraft at first and try a fast aircraft when you get used to it. So this is interesting. Let's have a think about this. If you're playing, let's say, Dodonpachi, something that everyone's pretty much picked up at one point or another, the A ship is fast, the B ship is medium, and the C ship, the blue laser ship, is slow. So what he's saying is try to get the knack of operation from the slow aircraft at first and try the fast aircraft when you get used to it. So maybe from a Dodonpachi point of view, we'd say start with the C ship and work your way to the green B ship. The A ship is super fast, but the focus fire is always in front, which is a bit of a handicap. A Shmup is a game where you shoot down the enemy. Roger that, control. People tend to think that it's a game to avoid bullets, but it's important to defeat the enemy quickly, even in a tremendous bullet hell Shmup. You don't have to avoid the barrage. If you defeat an enemy, he throws out the most terrible barrage. So in other words, if you can get in there first and stop them from launching the bullets, that's the best way to avoid it. To do so, you must always be aware of the enemy's position and ensure it's a place they will be hit by your own bullets. Objective: defeat the enemy immediately after its appearance. Get 16 of them. So we're going to point blank these. Up to now 9, 10. Done. Heavy metal. Another warrior has been born. Now you've touched upon the essence of Shmups. Move to an advantageous position and defeat the enemy. Defeat them fiercely. This is it. This is what Shmups are. So here we have it. Word from a pucker Japanese developer as to what the fundamentals of Shmups really are. And you'll notice here that we're keeping things pretty straightforward. Move, control the ship, move to a position where you can fire on the enemy and defeat them quickly. I made your weapon a 5-way. Whoa. Let's shoot bullets with A. Yep. Defo 5-way is there. It seems that there's little need to move and shoot because a diffusion bullet can attack widely and evenly. So yeah, sure, if I was up against a bunch of popcorn here, all I really have to do is trim a little bit left and right to cover the whole screen in these single streams. But if you have a good intuition, you're surely already aware. This type of aircraft can dramatically increase its attack power in close combat. So in other words, if I'm here, I can maybe get 1 or 2 streams onto this enemy. But if we get another one along and I get up close and pump all 5 of them in, then you can see the difference in the speed that the energy bar, this green, yellow, orange one, goes down. That took a couple of seconds. Can I get one more in before we stop there? Oh. If you fight at a distance, only 1 or 2 bullets will hit each enemy. But if you get right in front of them, all the bullets will hit. Let's do that. And that's it. You can see they go down in under a second if you get even most of the bullets on. Let's try another one. So this is taking ages, and in fact the ship's escaped. One more. I'm going to get this one before the timer runs out. Bam. A green durability gauge is displayed at the lower right of the enemy. Yep, we've seen that. Boom. Try attacking the enemy by moving closer or further away. That's what we've been doing. So let's just keep it up close and personal. This means that if you make full use of control, your attack power increases dramatically. So in other words, once you can get the ship under control, if you can sneak in up close to the enemy, this may seem obvious if you read it in writing, but there are very few people who can realize this by themselves, understand it, and use it in actual combat. It's always tempting when you start in Shmups to stay near the bottom of the screen. But what we're saying here is if you can get in control up close, you can turn the tide. This is it. This is the ultra-aggressive attack technique called close combat that was logically derived from diffuse projectiles, in other words, having a wide spread on your shot. It's logically derived from diffuse projectiles and movement. So control plus the firepower of your ship can tip the balance in your favor. 2 bullets are better than 1, 5 bullets are better than 2. The more bullets hit, the stronger the attack. It's too logical. It is logical, let's be honest. But I think in the West we haven't kind of developed a way of looking at these games that takes these factors into account. Not as a kind of fundamental. This is it. This is the very essence of the logic of Shmups. But if you get too close and make contact with the enemy, you will typically take a hit. It's an attack technique for real warriors who risk their lives. As an aside, there are only a few works in the world where contact with the enemy does not result in damage. This means you can challenge foes to close combat without fear. These are extremely dangerous shmups that require aggression. I can think off the top of my head, I think that the, what do you call it now? It'll come to me. Well, this is of course referring to my own work, so, oh no, you can take a hit. But I think in the main game, you don't take a hit for a collision with the enemy. Approach the enemy and defeat 10 of them. Up close and personal. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heavy metal, fantastic. Let's learn about avoiding enemy bullets. So you can see we've progressed through like a good portion of the tutorial without having anything fire back, just to get the hang of this idea of control and also balancing the position of your ship with the type of shots that it fires. Some people may think that shmups are filled with bullets and are too scary. That's right, bullets are scary. It can be said that shmups producers are fearmongers who love to create fear. But much of that fear can be overcome with knowledge. Now this, I think, is absolutely critical. This is really what the hobby is all about, is developing the knowledge and developing the logic of what you see in front of you on the screen, such that you can kind of overcome the difficulty by the logical way that you've worked out what to do. We're afraid of what we don't know, and we are afraid because we don't know. That's right, it's time for the logic of shmups. Knowledge and logic defeat fear, and consequently knowledge and logic defeat shmups. Enemy attacks in shmups are roughly divided into fixed direction attack and targeted attack. Let's start with a fixed direction attack. The enemy will attack you, but don't worry about the bullet and focus on the explanation. A fixed direction attack is a bullet that's always fired in a fixed direction. So from this one we can see if I go right smack in front of the enemy, that's where the bullets are being aimed, and it doesn't depend on my position. Let's get one more round. So the bullets aren't being aimed at me, we can tell that because they're not hitting me even though I'm standing still. So I'm going to go slightly out of the target zone. One more. There. So I wasn't moving and the bullets haven't hit me. This is a fixed attack. If you have a good intuition, you've surely already noticed, if you watch the enemy's position carefully, you can get into blind spots where the attack cannot hit you. At first glance it looks like a tremendous barrage, but you can easily avoid it by just looking at the point where the enemy's bullet is shot and shifting the axis a little. So let's say he's going to be shooting right ahead. If I step off to the side, no hit, no miss. In the case of this enemy, the blind spot is under the white protrusions on either side of the nose. Yeah, so pretty much here. When avoiding attacks with a fixed direction, it's important to focus on the enemy's picture as well as the bullet, because then you know where it's going to originate from. Kill 10 enemies while avoiding the bullets, and if you get hit, then it's going to reset the counter. So trying to keep myself underneath the white protrusions. Wait, let's try this a little more carefully. So I'm still only on 1 out of 10. Yeah, pretty good. Right, white protrusion, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. Right, 4 out of 10, not bad. Yeah, this is working. 2, 3. Metal fantastic. I think I only got a good because I let some of them get away. Excellent. It was a splendid avoidance of bullets, hard to believe to have been carried out by a beginner. Various enemies appear in the actual game. It's a very important tactic to determine if the enemy attack is a fixed direction attack. So here we are, we're getting back to the fundamentals. Every enemy that comes on screen, you can categorize their attack as one of 3 things. I think at the moment we're only talking about 2 here, but it's either going to be aimed at you, or it's going to be fixed in direction, or it could possibly be random, and that's a bit more advanced. So let's just look at the difference between aimed and fixed. Next, learn about targeted attacks, which are the most important element of the enemy's attack in Shmups. As the name suggests, it's a bullet that is aimed at your aircraft. This means if you don't move and avoid them, you will certainly be hit. There are no blind spots like a fixed direction attack has. It's terrifying. It's too terrifying. Aimed shot. Oh yeah, that's definitely coming towards me a bit. Oh yeah. Here comes a terrible attack. It doesn't matter how many times you get hit here. Read the description carefully. Right, let's look at this carefully. It can be said that targeted attacks are hellish attacks that epitomise the difficulty of Shmups. Yep. Roger that, Control. However, in fact, these can be easily avoided. If you have a keen intuition, you've surely already noticed. Move. So, firing at me, sidestep. Step by step until the barrage runs out. Just move a bit and you won't get hit. When the enemy fires a bullet, let's move a little to the side. Try moving sideways in small increments in succession. It's a technique called chon yoke. Chon means just a little and yoke means avoid, because it does a little moving input. Now let's practice. Avoid bullets for 30 seconds. Move slightly to avoid the bullets. Oh yeah. So we want to get over to the side as much as possible to give as much scope for movement between these pink attacks as possible. What I don't want to do is need to run past the pink bullets, because then I'm going to get hit guaranteed. Keep it in between this pink triangle. There we are. Heavy metal. In Shmups, when you're pushed to the edge of the screen, the danger level rises rapidly. Targeted attacks are also intended to drive your aircraft to the edge of the screen, because what it means is by that point you've got nowhere else to really run and you're just going to have to start inching upwards. The shorter the input time, that is, the shorter the movement distance in one input, the more difficult it is to be cornered. Now that's a good one. So what we're saying is, if the bullet's aimed exactly at the middle of these blue crosshairs on my ship, all I have to do is move a tiny bit each time and it won't hit, and this means it takes longer for me to reach this dangerous edge of the screen. This is a technique that's simple but profound, and it will require control accuracy. So here we're going back to control as a fundamental super shmup technique. If your fingers act foolishly, you may think you have moved a little bit, but moved too much and hit another bullet. You may now understand what it means to list control as one of the 3 great shmups ultimate techniques. Yeah, okay, so tiny control of the ship, being able to maneuver tiny amounts at the time, reduces the scope for you getting cornered. There's no need to be afraid of targeted attacks, or at least some people surely think so. However, if multiple enemies shoot continuously, it will be a big problem. Even if you make full use of chon yoke, avoiding just a little, you'll be cornered at the edge of the screen eventually, and there will be no escape. Here comes Shmup's ultimate depth technique. Okay, I hope you guys are sitting comfortably. It's a true depth beyond the 3 ultimate techniques. Some people may think that there are too many depths and ultimate techniques, but this really is a great depth. It's effective in all 2D shmups and is the basic and ultimate technique. It is the true ultimate technique that logic derives. The name is Kirikaishi. Earlier I introduced a small, slow-moving avoidance method. However, with this avoidance method you will eventually be cornered at the edge of the screen. Now use the full width of the screen and move wide quickly to avoid bullets. This is a cool graph, let's be honest. So he's saying up here quickly. And I guess what this graph is saying is that between this bullet and this bullet on these blue axes, there is a space for movement. So between the level of the one pointing to with the top of my crosshair here and here, there is a gap to change direction. Moving quickly creates gaps in the incessant firing of bullets. So if you scoop up here, scoop down here, the bullets that are being aimed at you. So if I do this slowly, this way, then any bullets being aimed at me will be closely packed together. But if I do this in a fast flowing motion, then the distance between two bullets that are tracking me is going to be bigger and allow me more space to move through to the other side. When you reach the edge of the screen, move through this large gap towards the opposite end. Alright, I'm excited for this now. Oh, look at this. Think of it as guiding rather than avoiding enemy bullets. To follow this almost figure 8 or infinity direction, I follow the arrows. I think it's easy to do it if you move to the middle edge of the screen. Look at the timing while moving downwards, aim for the gap between the enemy bullets and go out to the opposite side at once. So this I think is what he means by the middle edge, somewhere around mid-screen height. It's good to move as if drawing an arc. This side and back through, 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 and back through. So if I power up the side of the screen, then the gap between those fully diagonal bullets becomes bigger. And now we're shmupping. It's more important to guide them than avoid them. It's not passive avoidance, but offensive avoidance. That's right, Kirikaishi is an attack against the barrage. Maybe a defense against the barrage, but I think we know what he means. It's a technique that uses offensive movement techniques to attract foolish enemy bullets and then overtake them at once. Like, over here guys, oh no, you can got me. Yeah, oh over here, no. When the words, "I'm not there when you think you've shot me down," come out of your mouth naturally, you'll be able to stand on your own. Let's practice actual fighting. It's really difficult this time. It is difficult to master the ultimate depths. Avoid the bullets for 30 seconds. Oh lord. Over here, through the gap, over here. So I hope you can see here, even if you've never played Shmups, there's a logic of what's being presented here, and it's not something that we're overly familiar with in the West. I'm only narrowly avoiding some of these, to be honest. Let's try and make it a bit more honest in the way he's taught us. Up the middle of the screen. Heavy metal, Sukosigrigu. My, was this perhaps more than mere finger exercises for a veteran? I never thought that such a skilled hand would be in the introductory course. I feel like I'm being scored as an examiner. Yes, if you have sharp intuition, you've already noticed. This is where the ultimate technique number 1, control, becomes important. The faster the aircraft moves, the wider the space between the aiming bullets, and it becomes easier to avoid them. It means that, in order to master the true depths of the shmups, it's essential to learn the ultimate technique. In shmups, scoring items may appear when enemies are defeated. It's better to ignore them at first because you may be shot when you get to them. Ah, cool. This was the case until 20 years ago. In today's shmups, the acquisition of scoring items tends to contribute to the completion of the game. I guess because you can get extra lives, and also it may unlock certain conditions for higher difficulty. In the past, when the main battleground for shmups was the game arcades, scoring items were an element of score competition. Sometimes it was better to ignore them if the objective was to clear the game. Some works were extended by score, but the majority were limited in the number of times they were extended, which is true. You may get anywhere from 0 to 3 extends unless you've got a game that extends you every so and so many points. Because in an amusement arcade, the faster the rotation of customer is, the happier the owner is. I like that, it's honest. This is one of the reasons people think that shmups are difficult. However, as the place for new releases shifted from arcades to home consoles, there was no longer any point in reducing playing time. Now this is cool, no. This would make the game more interesting if some advantage were added to the acquisition of scoring items. In recent works, there are many of the every extend system, in which the number of remaining aircraft increases with a certain score every so and so many points. Some of them even allow you to make 50 mistakes before you complete the game, because you keep on getting another life every so often. Well, I'm describing my own game again, so this is good to know. For these reasons, the acquisition of scoring items is now a factor that cannot be ignored, even for the purpose of game completion. The way in which scoring items appear may also be closely linked to the game system. You should also find out whether the scoring system is a reward for doing something difficult or an ideal move. In the case of rewards for difficulties, you don't have to go overboard. But in the case of rewards for ideal moves, the more you aim for them, the better you'll get at that game. Now that's interesting that there would be a difference between risk and reward, so in other words, getting more points for difficult moves, or a kind of system where you get guided by the game itself to make the quote ideal move. It's also important to find out what the score is in the work. Next, let's learn advanced techniques. Well, dude, this has all felt pretty advanced to me, but let's go. There is an enemy attack called N-way bullets, fan-shaped bullets. Now I think, just to clarify, N here is like as in maths, like N, the number. So it could be 3-way or 5-way or 7-way or 4-way or 2-way. These attacks are unleashed in a fan shape, such as 3-way and 7-way and 5-way. So yeah, we see this, we can see, if I just quickly try and count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each of these barrages. Are you ready for this, guys? Because this is the coolest part of the tutorial, if you ask me. An extreme example is an attack in which bullets are fired in a circular pattern. And you will have seen these if you've watched any kind of high-level bullet hell. But maybe there's a logic here. There are two types of N-way bullets. N-way bullets aimed at the target and N-way bullets with a fixed direction. This section describes N-way bullets that aim at your aircraft, so we're not doing the fixed attack, the pink one from earlier on. These are going to be spread, but they are going to start off aimed somehow at the ship, at my ship. Try to stop moving for now. If the attack direction is an even number of N-way bullets, that is 2-way, 4-way and 6-way, you won't be hit if you stop. Yeah, sure enough, there are 6 in each of these waves. 6. And sure enough, they're definitely missing me. This is amazing. Essentially, you don't have to avoid it. When you play Shmups, if you're aware of whether this enemy shot is an odd number of shots or an even number of shots, you will not need to move around unnecessarily. And this is the part that really blew my mind. I've never tried to count the amount of bullets that come out from left to right in a spread from an enemy, let alone figure out if they're odd or even. It's a small thing, but it's important. If you have good intuition, you might think, why do they make attacks that don't need to be avoided? You see, if these odd way and even way bullets are shot alternately, then the attack becomes very difficult to avoid. So here we've got a combo of different ones. And sure enough, it is pretty difficult. Let me try this again. I want to see if I can get this. So it should just be kind of diagonal through the barrel. Moving on. It could be said to be a gimmick that cunning producers are happy to use. I think that's pretty honest as well. Furthermore, mixing aimed and fixed direction bullets or changing the speed of bullets makes for a tremendously nasty attack. Yeah, but I see what you mean here, dude. So I can get through the blue, but it's then hard to get through the pink because the blues are moving faster than the pinks. But at least what we're looking at now is a technique to kind of analyze the type of spread that's being fired and figure out, figure out what we're supposed to do. If I go to the side, yeah, so I would say, heading outside the center and moving through, something like moving in between the pink ones slowly and the blue ones quickly. No, still tricky. Right, moving on. It's often used by bosses and large ships. Let me see if I can try and on stream here, figure this out. I just want to, the blue ones come first. So I'm getting on better if I'm sidestepping. But no, then there must be, the blue ones are being aimed. Or maybe alternately aimed and not aimed. I'd have to count them, I guess. It's a nasty attack, but if you know the mechanism, you can deal with it. For this reason, it's important to observe the enemy carefully, and this is an unavoidable task when attacking bosses. So this is where I want to add a bit of editorial, especially here, is that we're talking about the idea that instead of just playing the game and trying to figure out, this is how I dodge, like I do this at this point and it just about gets me through. What's being suggested here is that you take a look in, I guess, offline time at the attacks that the enemies are sending out and try and figure out what the gaps are and why they're there. Are they even number? Are they odd number? Are they moving at different speeds? And this, I think, is where it's a really great place to start your Shmups hobby journey, is thinking about things like this and taking it from someone here who is a experienced Japanese producer of these games, that this is the kind of thinking that goes on in the background. By the way, if you have sharp intuition, you may have noticed that in this introductory course, the aiming bullet is blue and the fixed direction bullet is magenta. Objective: defeat the enemy. Right, let's give this a go. So these ones are fixed, so I can kind of sidestep a bit. These ones are aimed. I see, so the magenta ones really are not coming for me. Oh! Ah! Boy, medal fantastic. That's not possible. Too good to be true. You may have already surpassed me as a leader. No, I think you got a good ways to go there, man. I have now witnessed the birth of a man. It doesn't have to be a man, let's be honest. Of a person who will bear the burden of the future world of Shmups. Many vertical scrolling Shmups have ground enemies. Alright, let's move on to ground enemies. Bullets shot straight forward from your ship somehow hit ground enemies far below you. It's strange. Space is distorted. In the old Shmups, there were cases where the ground attack and the anti-aircraft attack were separated. And you know the ones. But now there are many cases where the anti-aircraft attack hits both ground and air enemies. Where's the logic? Some of you may be thinking that, but think of it this way. I interpret visibly shooting a bullet forward, but the bullet that hit the ground enemy is actually shooting downward. The question is whether this fighter can change the angle of the machine gun. Ground enemies are often more durable than airborne enemies, and some will continue to attack until they disappear at the bottom of the screen, making it a troublesome enemy. It may act as a barrier to block your bullets. As a result, you'll not be able to quickly defeat a group of weak enemies, and you'll be tormented by the weak enemies. Conversely, how you destroy the ground enemy is the key to that strategy of the stage. In some shmups, a special technique called sealing can be used against ground enemies. If your aircraft overlaps with a ground enemy, it won't shoot, and you can destroy it safely. Well, there will be a violent ground enemy who will shoot a lot of bullets. Let's take the plunge and move the aircraft over them. When you get close to the enemy, a circle showing the sealed area is displayed. The circle will turn green when your aircraft enters the range that can be sealed. Move in and out of the circle and observe the enemy's behavior. Okay. Seal. Alright. Seal, shoot, destroy. Simply flying over the enemy makes it not attack. It's amazing. I wonder what the logic is. I thought it was a matter of the range of movement of the gun barrel, so directly above is a blind spot. However, the turret that is out now is likely to shoot a bullet directly above. Anyway, it's an easy and convenient strategy. However, there are few works, almost none, that explain in advance whether this super important technique can be used. It is normal that the timing of the enemy's attack and the range of possible sealing are not specified. Oh. Seal, destroy. Also, there are shmups where the ground enemy stops attacking when it comes to the bottom of the screen to some extent. Again, there's no explanation of where the attack stops, so in other words, you won't know which part of the screen is going to stop firing at you. Everything is implicit. That's scary. The circle showing the sealed area displayed earlier was my idea for creating this course. There are probably no shmups that have this as a system, or maybe I just don't know about any. Shmups in Akiragoya, including Angel at Dusk, do not employ a system to seal off ground enemies. Instead, it specifies the timing of the attack so that you can decide whether to attack or avoid. That's fair enough. In the case of the vertical scroll shmups, it may scroll horizontally according to the position, here we go, of your aircraft. Suddenly we've got some extra movement here, and this might be familiar to you if you've played something like a riding game. Please try to move left and right. The background scrolls, right? The enemies that appear here will attack you with even way bullets aimed at you, so if you stop you won't get hit. Is that really true? Yeah, pretty much. Oi. Okay. Many of the shmups that scroll horizontally can seal an attack by scrolling to take the enemy off screen. Take him off screen. Wait till this one's about to fire. Take that off screen. Wait till this one's about to fire. Off screen. Ish. Ah! When a strong enemy appears at the edge of the screen, make use of the seal outside the screen technique. In the actual game, it's dangerous to stay on one side for a long time just because you can seal the enemy. If the range of movement is narrow, you can't use Kirikaish and you will be shot down eventually. So in other words, if you're over here and you can't go too far this way before you get the bullets, you've narrowed the possibility of movement to do the figure of 8 dodging to avoid the bullets. Off-screen sealing is only temporary. You have to figure out where to use it. You may be wondering, why does this game have a narrow screen and scroll horizontally? The monitor is wide on the side, so why not make the play screen wide as well? The edges of the screen are a waste. This is related to the play feeling of the vertical scrolling shmups. If the width of the play screen is too wide, you will not be able to defeat enemies at both ends of the screen. That's true actually, because if you have to deal with one over on the right hand side of your 16:9 display, you're by definition not going to be able to deal with one on the other side. While you're fighting with the enemy on one side, the enemy on the other side is dropping bullets endlessly, and this is frustrating. There are several solutions to this problem when making a shmup. Don't let enemies in the distance attack you, make the speed of the player's aircraft very fast, and make it possible to change the attack direction of the player's aircraft at will, so that would be more like a dual twin stick. But with these methods, the impression of playing will change a lot. It can be said that it's a different genre from the traditional vertical scrolling shmup. That's why, if you want to make it a classic vertical scrolling shmup, you introduce a horizontal scroll while narrowing the play screen. Conversely, the widescreen vertical scroll shmups can be said to be a dream-inspiring genre that can be newly developed. In other words, no one's really worked it out yet. Even though it's a genre with a history of more than 30 years, 2D shmups are really amazing in that there's still so much potential. In addition to fixed direction and aimed attacks, there are also guided and random attacks. A random attack is an N-way with an added irregularity in the attack direction. If there are many random attacks, the pattern cannot be formed and it becomes extremely difficult. How are we going to do this? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty difficult, dudes. It can be said that the attack is more a test of physical ability than intelligence. Oi. I think if I can get out to the wide side, like, come on, there, it might be easier. Dynamic vision and operational accuracy are required. In addition to the variation of the angle, there may be variation of the speed. It's even more difficult. Yep. Come on, give us another. Oh, I thought I'd made that one. When mixed with other attacks, it becomes very, very difficult. Oh. So random plus other attack. Yeah, that's pretty difficult. This is what happens when the random element is removed from the previous attack. Oi. Well, this is also difficult when it comes suddenly. So we're saying that this one is aimed so you can sidestep the first one and then sidestep again to get through. That's the logic. But actually it's all aimed at your aircraft, so you can easily avoid it if you move a little. The importance of observing and learning from the enemy's attacks appears precisely in these cases. And here we are again, so this is what I really want people to take out of this video and of the excellent tutorial, is that we're being asked as part of the hobby to look at and analyse the attacks of each enemy on the screen. And that is not something you're going to have been told anywhere else, as far as I'm aware. The presence or absence of random attacks is a factor, largely a matter of the producer's preference. Normally the creator creates the barrage while thinking about the answer to the evasion, but random bullets do not have an answer, so this is talking about something that Shmup developers sit and think about when they're building these attacks. So you can build something that's aimed, or you can build something that's fixed, and you're thinking, hey, this is how they would go about avoiding it. But if you put randomness in, you can't really predict what the answer is going to be. This means that even if the creators themselves play the game, they can enjoy tense battles. Well, that's nice for them. On the other hand, the success or failure of clearing the game depends largely on physical ability. Even if the producer thinks it's easy, it may be impossible for some people no matter how hard they try. And this is an important thing as well. I think that we're talking about games, particularly ones that introduce very heavy barrages and elements of unpredictability and randomness, are not always going to be the right games for everybody. And I think when you're picking up shmups, especially if you're new to the hobby, you really need to realize that not every single game that's produced is meant for someone at the beginning stage of their shmups hobby journey. And really, you need to kind of think about games that allow you to do this analysis process at a pace that is right for you. And in many cases that will be the novice modes that started to be introduced once the games became available, probably around about the Xbox 360 era. So any of the games that you can kind of find on Steam, on Switch, on PS4 that have like a good reputation will normally have an easy difficulty or a novice difficulty. And that is intended for new players to try out these analysis techniques without the incredible pressure of like crazy barrages. And if you flip that around, what we're saying is that the barrages, the really crazy spreads that you see on some of the games, are designed to test people who are used to analyzing the games. So if you are only just starting out on the kind of shmups hobby, then you won't have necessarily come across this idea of analysing attacks before, and therefore you want to find a game that lets you do it at your own pace and not under pressure. Right, back to this tutorial. By the way, random attacks are hardly used in Akiragoya's works. Well, that's good to know. Not only in shmups, but I prefer games with answers because I want the feeling of solving a puzzle to be present in the game. Hello, just saying. What we're I wish there was a way I could pause this. Not only in Shmups, I prefer games with answers because I want the feeling of solving a puzzle to be present in the game. So you can find videos that will say Shmups are not puzzle games, but in actual fact, if you look at what we've been talking about in this tutorial, the analysis and the emphasis on control and finding the answer, the truth is that these are a kind of esoteric type of puzzle game where you are supposed to analyze and you are supposed to find the answer, and here it is in almost black and white. With a system that is extremely difficult to understand and has evil barrages that cannot be avoided at first sight, my work is called an extremely difficult work and is feared. But on the flip side, anyone can complete the game consistently once they have found the answer. At first glance, Shmups all look the same, but this is a genre where the individuality of each producer comes out in these details. It's interesting. It's interesting. Now for the graduation exam. It is also called Jigoku, Hell. An overwhelmingly authentic Shmups barrage of Shmup strikes. Come on, bring it on. I have seen countless aspiring game warriors drop out here. Please do your best not to humiliate me who taught you. Well, maybe it will be impossible to avoid. Alright, let's get it. Battle points. There's only one way out of here. Right, what do we got? Point items. Barrages that are aimed. The blue bullets. Can I get that? Alright, what are we getting here? So, ground enemies. Let's seal them up. Alright, pink spreads, that's fixed. It's an odd number, so it's pointed, aimed at me. Oh. So what are we thinking here? Right, that was a ground enemy. Seal. I guess we can push them off screen. Go back and get the coins. This reminds me of Bullet Soul. I'm not freaking out here. So the pink ones are not aimed at me. Get up close. Take that one down quickly. Seal that one off. Oh, hello. Oh, wow. Okay, so the pink ones are not aimed at me. And the blue ones are aimed at me. Oh. Seal this one. Avoid these aimed attacks. Go and grab a few more coins. Oh boy. Love it. What have we got next? I'm waiting for aimed. Okay, these are the pink ones are not aimed at me, but the blue ones are, and it's trying to push me over to that edge of the screen. So what we want to do is get round to this side, get a few more aimed. Switch side. Oh, switch sides. I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't practiced this, as you may be aware. But what I am trying to do is employ the logic that's been explained over the last X number of minutes, N number of minutes, to come up with a strategy on the fly. I guess getting up close to this thing. Then if these aren't aimed, then I should be able to step between them. Oi. Where's the next? I've got to get these guns I've got. I don't suppose I can seal the gun, can I? Maybe I can seal the gun. Good. Not quite metal fantastic. In a word, open. Now, just as a flower petal opens, a hidden ability is revealed. And one more word to add. Chosen. You are the chosen one for Shmups. I didn't expect a beginner to move so far, completely beyond my expectations. You may be the one who transcends Shmup's logic. Your unyielding faith, you are truly what we call a game warrior. Times are changing. I feel the breath of the new Shmups current. You, the one game warrior, will trigger the Shmups Warring States period. What's this guy even on about? But be careful. There must be Shmups warlords lurking in the world who can match you. Please play various Shmups and improve your skills for the day of battle that will come someday. Game Warrior. I think that might be an achievement. And there it is, ladies and gents, the excellent tutorial from Angel at Dusk by Akiragoya. Definitely pick up the demo if you can. The demo is available on Steam. The demo is available on Switch for free, and it includes this entire tutorial, and I highly recommend playing it for yourself. Alright, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.